What is up, YouTube? It's Tom from Tech Time, and here at Tech Time, we bring you all your tech all the time. So if that's something that interests you, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay up to date with our weekly content. What do I got for you today? Today I have a review on the Essential phone. This is the PH1. This is the only phone out by Essential. This came out last year, August, and when it came out, it was spec'd out to match most flagship phones at that time. It had a lot of hype behind it because Andy Rubin, the creator of Essential, also the founder of Android, was the backer behind Essential and the owner of the company. So it was a lot of hype behind it. The phone had, tons of media hype up, and then when it released, it was a big crash. It had tons and tons of little hiccups. It had terrible cameras, but there was the idea that this thing was going to be backed by updates for a long time, a few years, and that's one thing Essential stuck through. They pushed out so many updates for this phone to keep it as good or make it better as much as they possibly could. They've put out more updates with this phone in 1 year than probably most any other manufacturer out there with their phones, and that's including Apple. I think they've definitely pushed out more updates than Apple does in a year, and Apple's normally one of the few companies that actually really push out a lot of updates for their phone. But Essential really tried and pushed out a lot of updates, but the price was really high when it came out, about $800, and it just wasn't worth what you were going to pay at $800. There was better options out there that were the full overall better phone. This one right here seemed like it was a good phone. I wasn't going to pick it up at that price point. There was just too many gray areas around it. You didn't know how well the performance was going to be because there was hiccups, and there was some little issues with lag on T-Mobile, which is one of the main carriers that I use. There was a lot of issues with service, so I held off. And then just recently, Amazon Prime Day, it was $250, which to me seemed like a steal. Snapdragon 835, 4 gigabytes of RAM, 120 gigabytes of onboard storage, Quad HD screen, nearly bezel-less with just the original notch right there, just a little teardrop for the front-facing camera, with a little chin on the bottom, but just really a gorgeous looking phone. Ceramic with titanium sides, just a really nice phone. So we're going to get into a quick review of the phone. We're going to break it down into 6 categories. We're going to have hardware, display, software, camera, battery, and then the XFactor. So we'll get into the first section right now, and that's going to be hardware and design. This phone comes with, like I said before, a 5.7-inch Quad HD screen, nearly bezel-less besides the chin, but up at the top you're pretty much running screen right to the edge with a small cutout. And then it has ceramic on the back with titanium on the sides. This is a different style. It's not curved out, it's squared off, similar to like an iPhone 4S, but it feels nice, it feels nostalgic, but it also has a great modern look. I like the ceramic on the back because to me it doesn't, at least in this color Halo Gray, doesn't pick up fingerprints as much as like a glass phone, and I think it it actually feels like it could hold up more than a glass phone. The Corning Gorilla Glass 5 just doesn't hold up, and that's what you see on most of the backs of these phones nowadays. So in terms of hardware and design, this definitely thing comes spec'd out. Like I said, hardware wise, you have a dual camera, you have a fingerprint sensor on the back, you have a flash, you have pin connectors for a 360 connection, 360 camera, and some other things. You have on the bottom a USB Type-C single firing speaker. You have a SIM card slot right there, and like I said, you get titanium with ceramic on the back. So the hardware and the design of this thing, especially when it came out in August of 2017, this thing was definitely spec'd out and could compete, or potentially could have competed with any flagship out there. But it did have issues, like we said, with software and stuff like that, but we'll get into that later on. So the second category is going to be display. This is a 5.7-inch LCD Quad HD display, and it has had mixed reviews. A lot of people say it doesn't get bright enough, but I don't know if they've ever taken off the auto brightness, because the auto brightness on this phone was not good. When I first played with it, first got the phone, it wasn't good. It just I don't know, it was just missing something. It could never get bright enough. So I took off the auto brightness. I believe they called it adaptive brightness. Took that off, and ever since then, the screen's been great. Now, Android Pie just updated on this, and then there's like a new version of adaptive brightness, and it works a lot better. So I've been using that adaptive brightness because it helps with battery life, and it, kind of figures out which way you like your brightness depending on light and stuff like that, and it goes like that. It's been working out pretty well, and if you don't have Android Pie, which if you have this phone you don't have it, I don't understand why you wouldn't, but originally when I was running Android Oreo 8.1, it didn't have the same adaptive brightness, so it wasn't working good. Overall though, the screen's got punchy colors. Look at that's the factory screen protector, not screen protector, wallpaper that it came with. Really nice, punchy colors, vibrant, and for an LCD, I think it's actually one of my favorite LCDs on a phone nowadays. It reminds me similar to something that like iPhone was doing with their LCDs. Really nice, vibrant colors, and overall just a nice screen. I enjoy it. I don't think it's missing too much. In direct sunlight, I've been able to read it outside at work or on a beach, on a boat. I've had no issues reading it at all. So overall display is really good. And like I said, Quad HD, you can't go wrong. So let's get into the next section. That's going to be software. They've pushed out tons and tons and tons of software updates for this phone. This phone now is running Android Pie, and there's a few things that I actually really enjoy about Android Pie. I haven't delved into it as much as some of the other people have, but there's one option that I do really enjoy, and that's the screenshot option. You hold the power button down for 3 seconds, and then you have power off, restart, or screenshot. Boom. Doesn't get easier than that. Now there's another option with the YouTube, or if you're watching videos, something like that, and you flip your phone around, it's going to automatically notice that you flipped your phone around. This is with auto rotate off. So it's an auto rotate situation where it notices you have auto rotate off, but it notices that it's supposed to go into landscape mode, and it will give you an option to hit the auto rotate button. You click it, and then it switches in to landscape mode. I think this option is unbelievable. I don't know why it hasn't come out before in other versions of Android or other OEMs putting it in their skins, because it just works out perfect. I don't have to have auto rotate on, so if I just slightly tilt my phone too much, the screen wants to turn when I'm on something that I don't want my screen to be turning on. So now this takes all the guesswork out of it. It knows when you're turning the phone. If you want to click that button, you can. If not, you can leave it the way it was. So that's another feature that I really enjoyed. And then I noticed, I mentioned earlier, adaptive brightness. Like I said, on Android Pie, it's worked out pretty good. So the software has definitely worked out pretty good in that aspect. Overall, it's super fast, it's snappy, everything runs the way it's supposed to. I haven't had any hiccups since I had the phone, but like I said, I haven't had the phone since the beginning. I picked it up around Amazon Prime time, so, Prime Day, so that's where I'm at. I've already got all the updates, so I didn't have to deal with all the hiccups. So you might have dealt with all the hiccups and not liked it. For me, I got lucky. I didn't have to deal with them. I grabbed it at the right time, at the right price, and it's just been buttery smooth for me. So, big dog, this goes out to you. I know you said this phone was absolute trash. Definitely not worth the money. But for me, so far, so good. I've actually been really enjoying it. So much, if not way better than some of my other flagships that I have, because this one just, especially at the price, it's just a no-brainer. Moving on, the next section we're going to get into is cameras. And that's kind of been a downfall of this phone from the beginning. The cameras have been trash, and they've gotten a little bit better as time goes on. I have it, like I said, since Prime Day, about 3 weeks now, and the cameras are decent. You can get definite capable photos out of the rear cameras. You get a dual camera system on the back, f1.9 aperture for the main camera, and then you have a monochrome black and white sensor. I don't ever use that. I don't know if it helps with depth or something, maybe in portrait mode or other aspects of the photography, but you can switch to it and use just black and white photos. To me, it doesn't make any difference. No different than a black and white, like filter on it for me. So I don't really use it. I'm not a huge black and white photographer anyways, so it just kind of goes unnoticed to me. The main shooter in the back shoots decent, capable photos, like I said, with the right lighting. And I use the Google APK camera download. So with that, it's actually made it a lot better than the stock camera app. For me personally, that's my own personal opinion. If you guys have this phone, you can download it, check it out, and tell me what you guys think down in the comments below, which one you think's better. Easy over there at Easy Computer Solutions actually just made a video comparing the regular stock camera app to the Google APK camera. And you could definitely see some differences. He seemed to notice it more on the front camera. I definitely noticed it on the rear camera. And that's just the camera app that I've been running with. It's worked out well for me. For photos, for video, the stabilization's just crap on this. I don't know if they can use a future update to get some kind of electric image stabilization pushed into it or update it, whatever the hell's going on. The cameras in video mode are just pretty whack on the rear cameras. Moving on to the front camera, you can shoot 4K video. This is one of, if not the only front-facing camera on a smartphone that shoots 4K in the front. I actually like it. The colors are a little saturated, but I think it makes nice video overall. Stabilization's okay, but I'm not really, doing too much crazy stuff when I'm running around on my front camera anyways. But it is nice for like Instagram TV or something like that, or even if you wanted to shoot a front-facing vlog, it works out nice. 4K, it's sharp, it's clean, colors look maybe a little oversaturated, but it's nice. Overall, the contrast is good, and it doesn't, not blow out too much highlights or anything like that, like some of the front cameras of like the Samsung Galaxy S9. I think this camera is definitely better than the Samsung Galaxy S9 front-facing camera. I would take this over that any day on a daily camera. If I needed something to carry with me for a front-facing, it would be this over the Galaxy S9. I think even over the iPhone, and probably the LG G7 and this front-facing camera, to me, are on par with each other. Photos, get decent photos. Nothing that's going to change the world, but they're decent. Like I said, the main thing is the 4K front-facing video. That's what I like a lot. Let's talk about another camera feature, and that is the 360 camera. This was originally $200 when it was released, and at that price point, it is a friggin' shame because this is nowhere near a $200 price point. It's got a great concept, but it's not delivered well, and I don't believe that any 360 camera really out there, especially in a price point of like $200 and under, including the Samsung 360 cameras that they have, are really optimized well. They don't stitch the imaging together well, and there's just a lot of issues. The quality is blurry. They call it 4K, but it's really like two 2K cameras stitched together, and it's just wonky and weird. But when you pull it out and you slap it on your Essential phone, you will get looks. People are going to ask you, what the hell is that? And they're going to, eyes are going to go wide, and people are going to think you're pretty cool for having it. When they look at the video and they play around with it a little bit, yeah, it's cool, but overall, it's not really usable, I don't think. Day to day, it's not worth it. If you're not getting this in the bundle, I wouldn't go out of my way to pick it up. If you can pick it up for the $26, which was what I grabbed it for, which was $19 plus tax or shipping, whatever the hell it was, it's worth it at that point. But other than that, I wouldn't look into this. I would get back to the rear camera and just back to the rear camera. You got portrait mode, you got some other modes. Basically, you got everything you need in a camera, and it's capable. Video, like I said, I wouldn't put any faith in the video, but you can carry this around and know that if you need to snap a photo that day, and it can definitely make it on your Instagram and be Instagram worthy. Especially if you spruce it up with a little editing, you can make it even better. So moving on to the battery. Like I mentioned earlier, I've gotten great battery life. It's got a 3040 milliamp hour battery, and it's lasted me, like I said, 6 hours almost of screen on time, which screen on time is not the tell-all on a phone. There's so much other stuff that are going on, how many apps you have in the background, if you're using GPS, if you're running, music in the background without your screen on. You can be doing so many things without your screen on, and you could be doing other things. There's just so much stuff that can be going on. You could be rendering video in the background, so screen on time is not the tell-all. But it is a nice little, mark to put out there, and it's definitely something that everybody takes notice of. Screen on time. Oh my God, you only got 2 hours, you only got 3 hours. So I'll throw it out there for all you guys that base everything on screen on time. I've gotten almost 6 hours of screen on time since Android Pie. And then charging up this thing definitely with the included charger, which is one hell of a quality built-in charger in the box. It's solid, it's metal, it's not plastic, it's not junk. It's got a braided cable that's nice. It actually has a little like connection thing where you can clip it and lock it into place so you can wound up your cord, and it just looks nice. Top quality accessories in the box, definitely. Plus you just got your dongle in the box. So battery life is great on this phone for comparing it to like the Galaxy S9, LG G7, the iPhone 8 Plus, stuff with similar size batteries. This thing has been much better than those other phones. The last and final section is the X Factor. This phone right here, it doesn't really have much of an X factor besides maybe the design of it is the big X factor here. But overall, this thing is super buttery smooth. It's got great amounts of internal storage, 128 gigabytes. I wish it had micro SD expansion because I do like using micro SD cards to be able to switch them from phone to phone or take it out if I'm editing video or stuff like that, and then pop it into like a card reader and then either put it on the computer or put it on another phone, whatever I'm editing on. So I do miss that option, but you do have plenty of internal storage. I guess in this day and age with 4K video and stuff like that, you could definitely burn through it. But I don't think most people will, especially the average consumer. I don't think they're really using it that much. So you got plenty of storage. The design is great. The screen is awesome. It's buttery smooth. I've had no hiccups. I'm on the T-Mobile carrier with this, and I've had beautiful service. LTE Plus, they call it. That's what it shows up on the front. But I've had speeds of 120 download and like 30, 40 upload on average. But I also have, you know, I'm kind of like in a city area around here near Boston, Massachusetts, so you're going to get better service around here. It's more of a populated area. I did bring it up to Maine, which is very, very rural, and I can say that I actually had better service than my G7, which I don't know how the hell that happened because the G7 has the 600 megahertz band on T-Mobile, and that's supposed to be used in more of the rural areas, especially up in Maine, so I really don't know how the hell it happened. Maybe it was roaming on another carrier or something. But I had better service on my Essential phone, so that's just something to take note of. Like I said, I have T-Mobile, haven't had any issues. That was an issue in the past, but I think overall it's good. For the price point, right now it's $329 on Amazon for the Halo Gray model. That does come with built-in Amazon Alexa. I don't use Amazon Alexa, so I'm not going to get into that in my review. But if that's something you guys are interested in, let me know down in the comments below, and I can throw in some little video or something, me showing how Amazon Alexa works on this phone. I don't use it. I use Google Assistant for the most part, and if I use like a Galaxy phone, I have been using Bixby. I do enjoy Bixby, but that's another story for another day. Overall, guys, for the price point of this phone, $329 right now for the Halo Gray model on Amazon, or $399 for a bundle on Essential, and you get the 360 camera and some other things like that. So at those price points, I definitely think this phone is worth a look, because at the competition at $350 to $400, this competition is not going to get you this. If you get a mid-range phone with like a Snapdragon 660 or a Snapdragon 450 or a 425 or whatever they have, they're putting in those mid-range phones nowadays, you're not going to get the equivalent of this. The Snapdragon, I think it's a 660, which is in the BlackBerry Key 2, is on par with like a Snapdragon 820. This is the 835. This is only one generation behind the 845. This was in the Google Pixel 2, the Google Pixel 2 XL, the Galaxy Note 8, the Samsung Galaxy S8. You know, a lot of phones had this processor, and it is still top of the line, buttery smooth. We have more in these phones nowadays than we can really even put it through the paces. And if you're just an average user that's browsing the internet or looking at Facebook or Instagram or playing around on Twitter and playing some small games or things like that, this is going to be more than enough for you. And at this price point, it's going to last you longer, especially when this thing's on Android Pie already, because most phones probably never even going to reach Android Pie. Samsung Galaxy S9 and the Note 9 probably won't reach Pie until next year when the S10 comes out, and then even then it will probably be further behind than this will. And I expect that Essential will probably push out some more updates and keep this phone in the loop. We don't expect to see a successor to this phone, but you never know. Things could change, and we could see one pop out. I think that Essential has great promise. You know, they've stuck behind their updates, and they have potential. I would like to see another iteration of this phone because I think that they have learned some things and they can move forward, but in the world of business that doesn't work. If you put out a flop, it's probably going to put you down on the ground, and especially in this swamped, fully overdone smartphone market, where if you kind of just, you fizzle out, that's what happens. Look at HTC, look at LG, they're on their way out right now, you know what I'm saying? So it's a stiff competition. If you come in and you're a nobody and you put out a phone that really just doesn't keep up with the masses, you're going to end up in the gutter, and that's where it looks like Essential ended up. But with that said, I think the phone itself is capable, and it's actually really nice. I've enjoyed it. I was totally surprised by it because most people said it was trash, and I've been completely surprised by it. So that's my Essential review, guys. And if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. And like I said, if you wanted to see more on this phone, let me know about it. There are some issues with accessories and stuff like that. Like, you're not going to see a lot of cases, you're not going to see a lot of screen protectors, and that's a problem when you buy a phone that's not fully mass market, like a Samsung, an LG, an iPhone, or even Huawei nowadays. That you don't have a lot of backing behind it. A lot of companies aren't putting their manufacturing into making cases and accessories for this phone because it didn't sell a lot, so that means they're not going to sell a lot. But overall, you can find some things. You can check my Essential playlist, and I have some case videos on there, and I'll probably have a couple more coming up for you guys. But it is some solid options, and they are from Tudia right now, and I have some other stuff coming, so we'll check that out. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.